Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. And today's video, we are continuing on with TryHackMe, the Junior Penetration Tester Learning Path, the Burp Suite area, and this room is the Burp Suite Other Modules. Take a dive into some of Burp Suite's lesser known modules. Now, let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 1, Introduction. Welcome to Burp Suite Other Modules room. In addition to widely recognized repeater and intruders room, Burp Suite incorporates several lesser-known modules. These will form the focus of this room's exploration. The spotlight will be on the decoder, compare, sequencer, and organizer tools. They facilitate operations with encoded text, enable comparison of datasets, allow the analysis of randomness with capture tokens, and help you store and annotate copies of HTTP messages that you may want to revisit later. Although these tasks appear straightforward, accomplishing them with Burp Suite can substantially save time, thus emphasizing the importance of learning to use these modules effectively. Without further ado, let's delve into the first tool, the decoder. And I've already deployed the attack box and the machine. Let's continue on to task number 2 here. Decoder overview. The decoder module of Burp Suite gives user data manipulation capabilities. As applied by its name, it not only decodes data intercepted during attack, but also provides the function to encode our own data, prepping it for transmission to the target. Decoder also allows us to create hash sums of data, as well as providing a smart decode feature, which attempts to decode provided data recursively until it is back to being plaintext, like magic, function of CyberChef. To access the decoder, navigate to the decoder tab from the top menu to view the available options. So let's go ahead and just show split view here, and let's go ahead and start up Burp. All right, now while that's loading, this interface lays out multitude of options. Number 1, this box serves as the workspace for entering or pasting data that requires encoding or decoding consistent with other modules of Burp Suite. Data can be moved to this area from different parts of the framework via the Send to Decoder option upon right-clicking, and that's this big text box here. Number 2, at the top of the list on the right, there's an option to treat the input as either text or hexadecimal byte values, and that's this here. And number 3, as we move down the list, drop-down menus are present to encode, decode, or hash the input. Number 3, and then number 4, the smart decode feature located at the end attempts to auto-decode the input. Upon entering the data into the input field, the interface replicates itself to present the output of our operation. We can then choose to apply further transformations using the same options, data, and see how it's now been translated into something else here. So let's go ahead and go to decoder tab here. Let's take a look here. And as we're talking, there's 1, and then 2, 3, and then 4 at the bottom. All right, which feature attempts to auto decode of the input? And that's going to be the smart decode. There we go. Number 3, we're going to talk about encoding and decoding with the decoder. Now, let's examine the manual encoding and the decoding options in detail. These are identical whether the decoding or encoding menu is chosen. Plain. This refers to the raw text before any transformations are applied. URL encoding is utilized to ensure the safe transfer of data in the URL of your web request. It involves substituting characters for their ASCII character code in a hexadecimal format preceded by percentage symbol. This method is vital for any type of web application testing. For instance, encoding the / character whose ASCII character code is 47 converts it to 2F in hexadecimal, thus becoming percentage 2F in URL encoding. The decoder can be used to verify this by typing a / in the input box and then selecting encode as URL. So if you go ahead and try that in here, / and then you want to encode as URL, and that's what it looks like. HTML. Entities encoding replaces special characters with an ampersand and followed by either a hexadecimal number or a reference to the character being escaped and ending with a semicolon. This method ensures the safe rendering of special characters in HTML and helps prevent attacks such as cross-site scripting or XSS. The HTML option in decoder allows any character to be encoded into its HTML escaped format or decode captured HTML entities. For instance, to decode a previously discussed quotation mark, input the encoded version and choose decode as. All right, so we have the ampersand, the QUOT, and then the semicolon at the end, and you can select decode as HTML. You can hit smart decode to try to do it itself, and it'll come back as that quotation mark as shown in the screenshot. Base64, a commonly used encoded method, converts any data into an ASCII compatible format. The under the hood functioning isn't crucial at this stage. However, interested individuals can find the underlying mathematics here, so check that out if you're interested. ASCII hex. This option transitions data between ASCII and hexadecimal representations. For instance, the word ASCII can be converted into hexadecimal number 415, yada yada yada. Each character is converted from its numeric ASCII representation into hexadecimal, hex, octal, and binary. These encoding methods apply solely to numeric inputs, converting between decimal, hexadecimal, octal, base 8, and binary representations. Gzip. Gzip compresses data, reducing file and page sizes before the browser transmission. Faster load times are highly desirable for developers looking to enhance their SEO score and avoid user inconvenience. Decoder facilitates the manual encoding and decoding of gzip data, although it often isn't valid ASCII/Unicode, for instance. And this is what it looks like. And SEO stands for search engine optimization, for those that did not know. These methods can be stacked. For example, a phrase, burp sweet decoder, could be converted to ASCII hex and then octal, just like it shows here in the GIF. And combination of these methods grant us substantial control over the data we are encoding or decoding. Encoding/decoding method is color-coded, enabled swift identification of the applied transformation hex format. While inputting data in ASCII format is beneficial, there are times when byte by byte input editing is necessary. This is where hex view proves useful. Selectable above the decoding options, and that's what it looks like. This feature enables us to view and alter our data in hexadecimal byte format, a vital tool when working with binary files or other non-ASCII data. Smart decode. Lastly, we have the smart decode option. This feature tries to auto-decode encoded text. For instance, whatever this says here is automatically recognizes HTML encoded and is accordingly decoded, just like it shows in the GIF. But if you want to try it out yourself, you can type it in here. And then it says Burp Suite. While not perfect, this feature can be a quick solution for decoding unknown data chunks. Now, question time. Base 64, encode the phrase, let's start simple. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this over like so. And then it says it wants us to base 64 encoded. So let's go ahead and type that in. And this is what it looks like. All right, URL encode this data here and URL decode this data. So let's go ahead and plug it in here and then decode it. Next, decoding. So let's go ahead and paste this in. See how this works, guys. Use smart decode to decode this data. And what's the decoded text? Well, let's find out. "47." There we go. So I just hit smart decode on it and it automatically did it for me. Encode this phrase, encoding challenge. Okay. Start with base 64 encoding. Take the output of this and convert it to ASCII hex. Finally encode the hex string to octal. What's the final string? Okay. So first off, let's delete all this stuff out of here, paste it like so. And it says take the output of this, start with base 64 encoding. So encode as base 64 like so. All right, next step is to just take the output and convert it into ASCII. So encode as ASCII hex, and then this final string into octal. So octal. And this would be our answer here. All right, now let's go on to task number 4 here, decoder hashing. Hash, in addition to its encoding slash decoding functionality, decoder also offers the ability to generate hash sums for our data. Theory, hashing is a one-way process that transforms data into a unique signature. For a function to qualify as a hashing algorithm, the output it generates must be irreversible. A proficient hashing algorithm ensures that every data input will generate completely unique hash. For instance, using MD5 algorithm to produce a hash sum for the text, MD5 sum returns the following. Using the same algorithm for MD5 sum yields an entirely different hash despite the close resemblance in the input. Therefore, hashes are commonly used to verify the integrity of files and documents, as even a tiny alteration to the file significantly changes the hash sum. Note the MD5 algorithm is deprecated and should not be used for contemporary applications. Moreover, hashes are used to securely store passwords, since the one-way hashing process makes the passwords relatively secure even if the database is compromised. When a user creates a password, the application hashes and stores it. During login, the application hashes the submitted password and compares it against the stored hash. If they match the password correct, using this method, an application never needs to store the original plaintext password. Right? To think of hashing, just think of something like a hamburger, right? You got the ground beef and then you cook it, or sorry, you got the cow and you convert the cow into ground beef, right? You can't reverse that. Or something like applesauce. You got a bunch of apples, right? And you convert the apples into applesauce. You cannot reverse that action there. Hashing and decoder. Decoder allows us to create hash sums for data directly within Burp Suite. It operates similarly to encoding slash decoding options we discussed earlier. Specifically, we can click on the hash drop-down menu and select an algorithm from the list. Note this list is significantly longer than the encoding slash decoding algorithms. It's worth scrolling through to see the many available hashing algorithms. Continuing with our earlier example, let's enter MD5 sum into the input box down the list until we find MD5. Applying this automatically makes or takes us to the hex view. So let's go ahead and try this stuff here. Clear all this stuff out of here and then type in MD5 sum. All right, so and if you look at the hashes, there's a bunch of them in here, right? All right, and we want to find MD5. There we go. And that's what it looks like. A hashing algorithm's output does not yield pure ASCII slash Unicode text. Hence, it's customary to convert the algorithm's output into a hexadecimal string. This is the hash form you might be familiar with. Let's complete this by applying an ASCII hex encoding to the hash sum to create the next hex string from our initial example. This is what it looks like. So they want us to add ASCII hex. So let's go ahead and do that here. And this is what it looks like. Using decoder, what is the SHA-256 hash sum of the phrase let's get hashing? So let's go ahead and copy and paste this stuff again, like so, and then we'll hash it as SHA-256. All right, now that's hashed as SHA-256, wants us to convert it to hex, or ASCII hex, and that's what it looks like. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this over. Next one is generate an MD4 hash sum of the phrase insecure algorithms. Okay, and then encoded as base64, not ASCII hex before submitting. All right, so let's go ahead and clear all this crap out of here. Type this in, and then we want to hash this first as MD5, MD4. So let's go ahead and find that real quick, MD4, and then encode it as base64. There we go. Now let's look at an in-context example. First, download the file attached to this task. This file can be downloaded from the deployed VM using this following command, this wget zip. So let's just go ahead and try this out real quick. Wget, and it says it was saved, and you can double check it using that. Let's just do it, make it easy. And we have it right here, altered keys. Now read the problem specification below. Some joker has messed with my SSH key. There are 4 keys in the directory, and I have no idea which is the real one. The MD5 hash sum for my key is the following. Could you find it for me? What is the correct key name? All right, so let's go ahead and unzip this and figure out what's going on here. Hey everybody, just a quick little blurb here. As you can see here, most people that view my channel are not subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps get me in the algorithm, helps spread the good word out there, helps bring more people and increase our glorious community here. All right, I'm all about helping out others. I know what it's like to come up in cybersecurity or even try to get into cybersecurity and not knowing where to look. I'm just having this channel up so I can help out other people. All right, that's all I got. There's a couple different ways you can do this. All right, the first way is after you unzip the files. As you can see here, I've already done that. ls, and then this is what the keys look like. And you can go through, you can cat through them. All right, key, whatever. All right, see the contents. You can also open them up in like a text editor or whatever. Now, the quick way to do this would be to use something like MD5 sum, and then the name of the key. Key 3 is going to be the one we're looking for. As you can see there, it matches. Now, if you want to do it the long way, you can go ahead and copy the contents of the keys and plug them into Burp here inside of the decoder. Now, once you do that, you want to make sure you go to hash and select MD5 under here. Right, select MD5, and then after that, you want to encode it as ASCII hex. And then once you do that, you should get the actual hash for it, the MD5 hash. So let's just use this as an example. If I go in and just delete it, whatever. Okay, now if I go in and hash MD5 like so, okay, and I go in and just encode it as hex, and there you go. Now let's continue on to task number 5. We're going to talk about compare overview. Compare, as the name implies, lets us compare 2 pieces of data, either by ASCII words or by bytes. Let's first check out the interface. So if we move over here and we go and look at compare, to just follow along and check out the interface. The interface can be divided into 3 main sections. Number 1, on the left, we see the items to be compared. When we load data into compare, it appears as rows in these tables. We select 2 datasets to compare. Number 2, on the upper right, we have the options for pasting data from the clipboard paste, loading data from a file, load, removing the current row, remove, and clearing all datasets, clear. Number 3, lastly, on the lower right, we can choose to compare our datasets by either words or bytes. It doesn't matter which of these buttons you select initially because this can be changed later. These are the buttons we click when we're ready to compare the selected data. Just like most Burp Suite modules, we can also load data into compare from other modules by right-clicking and choosing Send to compare. Once we've added at least 2 datasets to compare and press on either words or bytes, a pop-up window shows us the comparison. This window also has 3 distinct sections. Number 1, compared data occupies most of the window. It can be viewed in either text or hex format. The initial format depends on whether we chose to compare by words or bytes in the previous window, but this can be overridden by using the buttons above the comparison boxes. The comparison key is at the bottom left, showing which colors represent modified, deleted, and added data between the data. There are 2 data sets. Number 3, sync views. Checkbox is at the bottom right of the window. When selected, it ensures that both sets of data will sync formats. In other words, If you change one of them to hex view, the other will adjust to match. The window title displays the total number of differences found. Task number 6, compare example. We now know what compare does, but how is this useful? There are many situations where being able to quickly compare two potentially very large pieces of data can come in handy. For example, when performing a login brute force or credential stuffing attack with intruder, you may wish to compare two responses with different lengths to see where the differences lie and whether these differences indicate a successful login. Practical example, navigate to this URL here. So let's go ahead and do that. Open up Firefox. It says try to log in with an invalid username and password, capture the request with Burp proxy, send the request to repeater with Control plus R or Mac equivalent, or by right clicking the request and then send it to repeater. So let's go ahead and paste this in here. And let's make sure that this is turned on to go to Burp. So we'll just do test and I guess test 123 the password. And let's go over to Burp, make sure this is actually turned on. All right, intercepts on. So let's go ahead, send it. There we go. Now we got the request ready to go. And I want to send this over to repeater, so right click and then send it to repeater. You can use Control R. Okay, send the request, click on the response and choose send to repeater. Okay, so I'm sorry, compare. So it's already in here, so click send, and then we want to send the request. I'm sorry, yeah, send the request. Oh, sorry, right click on the response and send to compare. So let's go ahead and do that. Send to compare. All right, now we have it in compare ready to go. In the repeater tab, change the credentials to the following here. So go back over here and let's go ahead and change these to support underscore admin, and then password's going to be that password there. So I'm going to copy and paste this like so. Send it again, and then send the pass the new response to compare. All right. Compare the two responses by word. Can you identify the main differences? All right, so let's do this. It says compare words, and there we go. There's the differences. All right, so that's complete. And let's continue on to task number 7 here. They have the differences highlighted, it looks like here. Obviously, the time's different, and the session cookie is different. Yeah, modified, deleted, added. It gives you the keys down here of what to look for inside of here. So let's go ahead and continue on. Sequencer overview, task number 7. Sequencer allows us to evaluate entropy or randomness of tokens. Tokens are strings used to identify something and should ideally be generated in a cryptographically secure manner. These tokens should be session cookies or cross-site request forgery (CSRF) tokens used to protect form submissions. If these tokens aren't generated securely, then in theory we could predict upcoming token values. The implications could be substantial. For instance, if the token in question is used for password resets. Let's start by looking at sequencer interface. So let's go ahead and move over to sequencer. Yep. We have two main ways to perform token analysis with sequencer. Live capture. This is the more common method and is the default subtab for sequencer. Live capture lets us pass a request that will generate a token to sequencer for analysis. For example, or instance, we might want to pass a post request to a login endpoint to sequencer, knowing that the server will respond with the cookie. With the request passed in, we can instruct sequencer to start a live capture. It will then automatically make the same request thousands of times, storing the generated token samples for analysis. After collecting enough samples, we can stop the sequencer and allow it to analyze the capture tokens. Manual load. This allows us to load a list of pre-generated tokens samples directly into Sequencer for analysis. Using manual load means we don't need to make thousands of requests to our target, which can be noisy and resource intensive. However, it does require that we have a large list of pre-generated tokens. We will be focusing on live captions room. What does the sequencer allow us to evaluate? So I'm just going to copy and paste it while I'm up here. But yeah, the randomness of the tokens is what allows us to evaluate via sequencer. So task number 8 here, and we're going to talk about live capture. Great, let's dive into the process of using sequencer's live capture for entropy analysis on the anti-brute force token used in the admin login form, which is found here. So let's go ahead and navigate to this particular location here. Right click on the request and select send to repeater. So let's go ahead and turn this on, enable it to repeater. So I'm just gonna hit refresh here, send it over to repeater, go to proxy, and sorry, not repeater, but go over to Burp and send this over to sequencer, like so. And then in the token location within response section, we can select between cookie, form field, and custom location. Since we're testing the login token in this case, select the form field radio button and choose the login token from the drop-down menu. Okay, so there's the from field, and then we need to select this login token. In this situation, we can safely leave all other options at their default values. So click on the Start Live Capture button. A new window will pop up indicating that a live capture is in progress and displaying the number of tokens captured so far. Wait until a sufficient number of tokens are captured. Approximately 10,000 should suffice. The more tokens we have, the more precise our analysis will be. Once around 10,000 tokens are captured, click on pause and then select Analyze Now button. And we're almost there. We're about halfway. It's important to note that we could have also chosen to stop the capture. However, by opting to pause, we keep the option to resume the capture later if the report doesn't have enough samples to accurately calculate the token's entropy. If we wished for periodic updates on the analysis, we could have also selected the Auto Analyze checkbox. This option tells Burp to perform the entropy analysis after every 2,000 requests, and looks like we're there, so I'm going to hit pause. Analyze now. Okay, let's finish this up. Every 2,000 requests, providing frequent updates that will become increasingly accurate as more samples are loaded into sequencer. At this point, it's also worth noting that we could choose to copy or save the capture tokens for further analysis at a later time. Upon clicking Analyze Now button, Burp will analyze the token's entropy and generate a report. What is the overall quality of randomness estimated to be? So let's take a look here. Overall results. The overall quality of randomness within the sample is estimated to be excellent. And that's what we'll go with. Oh, if I can type it in here correctly. There we go. And I remember seeing something like this in the actual APIsec University course. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. But let's go ahead and continue on here. To task number 9, sequencer analysis. Now that we have a report for the entropy analysis of our token, it's time to analyze it. The generated entropy analysis report is split into 4 primary sections. The first of these is the summary of the results. The summary gives us the following, which we're looking at right now. Overall result. This gives a broad assessment of the security of the token generation mechanism. In this case, the level of entropy indicates that the tokens are likely securely generated. Effective entropy. This measures the randomness of the tokens. The effective entropy of 117 or 117 bits is relatively high, indicating that the tokens are sufficiently random and therefore secure against prediction or brute force attacks. Reliability. The significance level of 1% implies that there is a 99% confidence in the accuracy of the results. This level of confidence is quite high, providing assurance in the accuracy of the effective entropy estimation. And you got sample here. This provides details about the token samples analyzed during the entropy testing process, including the number of tokens and their characteristics. All right, Now you can go ahead and look around in here and you can see everything they're talking about. While the summary report often provides enough information to assess the security of the token generation process, it's important to remember that further investigation may be necessary in some cases. The character level and bit level analysis can provide more detailed insights into the randomness of the token, especially when the summary results raise potential concerns. While the entropy report can provide a strong indicator of the security of the token generation mechanism, there needs to be more definitive proof. Other factors could also impact the security of the tokens and the nature of probability, and statistics means there's always a degree of uncertainty. That said, an effective entropy of 117 bits will, or with a significant level of 1%, suggest a robustly secure token generation process. All right, and we're now on task number 10, organizer overview. So let's go ahead and hop out of this and go to organizer. The organizer module of Burp Suite is designed to help you store and annotate copies of HTTP requests that you may want to revisit later. This tool can be particularly useful for organizing your penetration testing workflow. Here are some of the key features. You can store requests that you want to investigate later, save requests that you've already identified as interesting, or save requests that you want to add to a report later. You can send HTTP requests to Burp Organizer from other Burp modules such as proxy or repeater. You can do this by right-clicking the request and sending or selecting Send to Organizer or using default Control plus O. Each HTTP request that you send to Organizer is a read-only copy of the original request, saved at the point you sent it to Organizer. Requests are stored in a table which contains columns such as the request index number, the time the request was made, workflow status, Burp tool that the request was sent from, HTTP method, server hostname, blah, 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 the length of the response in bytes, and any notes that you may have made. So if you want to just play around with this, let's just go to proxy and then right click, send it to organizer. Organizer's glowing, and there we have it. This is what it looks like. Okay, now let's continue on. Requests are stored in a table which contains columns such as the request index number, the time the request was made, workflow status, Burp tool, yada yada yada. Okay, I've already read over that, so let's go down here. To view the request and response, one, click on any organizer item. Okay, we already clicked on one. The request and response are both read-only. You can search within the request response, select request, and then use the search bar below the request, which is down here. Oops, let me go back. Exit out of this. But yeah, search bar is down there. And let's see here. Are saved requests read-only? Yes, they are. And task number 11, we're going to close it out with the conclusion. Congratulations on completing the Burp Suite Other Modules room. To summarize, the coder allows you to encode and decode data, making it easier to read and understand the information being transferred. Compare enables you to spot the differences between two data sets, which can be pivotal in identifying vulnerabilities or anomalies. Signature helps in performing entropy analysis on tokens, providing insights into the randomness of their generation and consequently their security level. Organizer enables you to store and annotate copies of HTTP requests that you may want to revisit later. Having a fundamental understanding of these tools equips you with a broader skill set when it comes to web application penetration testing. In the next and final room of this module, you will be exploring the Burp Suite Extensions tool. So we'll be looking at that in the next video. And that wraps up this video. If you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button with the notification bell. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Comment below on your thoughts and opinions. As always, thank you all for watching. Have a nice day, and I'll see you later.